as you're growing, I'm growing. And I found different frameworks that I've never given that I'm giving in this workbook. So you guys are going to get this at the end of the webinar. Um, but let me share my slides and let's get going because I have a lot to cover and I want you guys to get it all. So give me 1 second. All right. So this is my goal. I want you to have the single best year of your life. Not just because we're getting into a new year, but I really want you to have the single best year of your life. Now, what I want you to do, if you're ready to have the single best year of your life, I want you to type in the chat, that's me. I really want you to really start speaking things into existence. Now, the decisions you make today are going to quietly dictate your income, your confidence, your fulfillment, your health over the next 12 months. Most people never choose, they drift. But I don't want any of you to be those people. Today, that has to change. But before we go any further, I want you to understand something important. This is not about me motivating you. It's about doing the real work. There's a big difference between real work and fake work. You know, just listening to me, that's not going to change anything. Implementation is where everything changes. That's why today I'm going to show you frameworks, a way of thinking, how to make decisions that high performers use to collapse time and create fast results faster than you can imagine. But by the end, I want you to get crystal clear on exactly what you want, what needs to be eliminated, and becoming great at decision making. So I want you to take notes, but I want you to start out with an outcome. Like, what is your intention by the end of this webinar? Like, you're on here for a reason because you want to change your life. You're not here by accident. So I want everybody to really decide their outcome before we even get started. I want everyone just to take a moment and really think, what if 2026 was my single best year? It's going to go back to today. You're going to remember today. Now, today marks a permanent shift. And do you believe that? Do you really believe that? Because you have to accept it. It doesn't matter if I keep telling you that. It matters what you are telling you. Do you believe that today marks a permanent shift? Forever, I'm talking about this all the time. There was one moment that changed my life. One moment that I went all in. That's why I could tell you, this is your moment for you. Now, this isn't an intellectual moment. It's got to be emotional. It's got to be, I'm done. Enough is enough. I'm no longer going to stress about money. I'm going to create the type of money I want. I'm going to create the type of impact I want. I'm going to create the type of leadership I want. That's where everything starts. That's what I mean by making a permanent shift. Now, you're not going to leave here the same person. You watch the next several hours, you're going to be thinking much differently. And you're going to be super inspired about what you're about to do. Now, one moment can rewrite your entire future. I want every one of you to decide this is my moment. I want all of you. You don't need to say it, but say it to yourself. Say it to yourself. You know you're here because there's something bigger inside of you. There's something that's dying to come out of you. And if you're anything like where I was, and I'm like this every year, that I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired because I always know I could do better. And I'm doing better than I've ever done. I still have that same thought. You know, being dissatisfied is a very creative state because that's what drives us forward. Now, everything changes when the right ideas meet the right person. So when you're taking notes, when an idea hits, I want you to take it, circle it, star it, highlight it, because that's the ideas that you want to act upon. Now, the point of your life is to live the way you really want to live. So I want you to take an observation of 2025. Did you live the way you want to live? I want you to ask yourself that question. Are you living in freedom? Did you do the experiences you want? Or did you push it out, say, giving yourself excuses. Well, there's reasons I didn't build my dream business, or there's reasons I didn't get promoted at my job. And I want you to really ask this question honestly. Because remember, change demands truth and honesty. But then I want you to fast forward for a moment. It's the end of December next year. You're looking back and you realize this webinar was the moment you decided to go all in for yourself. Not because you learn more. You guys all have enough information. So it's not about learning more, it's about becoming more. But because you finally stopped betraying what you wanted, you finally let go of the excuses, you finally really went all in on yourself. Your money supports your life instead of being controlled by it. Your energy isn't split between who you are and who you want to be. And the biggest shift, you no longer are asking others for permission. You're no longer being dictated by your past from other people. Most people don't fail because they aim too high. They fail because they never commit to live the life they truly want. So today is about really deciding how you're going to end next year. I want you to understand that. That's what it is. It's not just being motivated for a couple of weeks. We're going into the new year and then you drift. That's what most people are going to do. That's why 98% of people are struggling. But I want you to commit for yourself that you're going to live your life the way you really want it to be. Not overthinking, not hesitating, but really stepping into the new version of yourself and your new identity. Now, I want every single person to create their own economy. Right now, if you look at your economy, you created that, but you could decide that next year you're going to create a completely different economy. Now, it's a decision first, and I want you to understand that. So if I say decide, that means you're going to be great at follow through. That means you're not going to know the way. If you already knew the way, you'd already had created your own economy. Now, I want you to think, what would it be like if you really did create your own economy? See, a lot of people want financial freedom, but they've never allowed themselves to get emotionally involved with it. It's a wish or a hope. It's somewhere out in the future. So it has no power. And I don't want that for you. Most people are living inside of an economy they don't control. They're constantly, what I said earlier, they're waiting for permission. They're always procrastinating. And they're constantly lying to themselves about who they really are. They don't understand their spiritual being. There's no limitation. The only limit is in their thinking. But they never upgrade their thinking. They study more, but they don't act. And you want to understand from the very beginning, the wealth formula is be, do, have. So you have to decide that I'm going to become more. And then you have to decide, I'm not available for average action. I'm going to do more. And then you're going to have everything you want. See, high performers, they operate in a self-created economy. They decide how much money they're going to earn. And I want you to ask yourself this question. Have you decided already in 2026 what you're going to earn? And if you haven't, you want to really make that decision right now. And when you do that, everything is going to really start falling into place. But I want every single one of you to leave this session completely committed to building the strongest personal economy you've ever had. One that supports your lifestyle, your family, and your freedom in 2026 and beyond. Now, wealth is always a mental system before it's a financial one. So here's a great time to look at 2025, what you earn. That is your current mental program right now around money. That is where it is. No more, no less. The results always tell the truth. So I want you to understand that. And then we want to leverage it. We're going to say, okay, that's what I did in 2025, but I'm going all in on changing my programming. Now, success always comes down to a few simple choices. Number one, decide exactly what you want. Number two, you have to determine the price you have to pay. And number three, you have to choose, are you willing to pay it? Now, let's take a good look, because if we're going to absolutely explode 2026, we've got to look at 2025. So the question is, did I decide exactly what I wanted? Now you're going to know if you decided because you went all in. There was no safety nets. And then you ask yourself, did I determine the price I had to pay? Did I really write down the standards that I wanted? Did I invest in myself? Did I stretch? Did I build discipline? And then you have to ask, did I pay the price in 2025? Did I really pay the price? And you want to always come from a place of wholeness when you're creating your new year. So you don't ever beat yourself up about it. You look at it neutrally and you say, I knew what I wanted, but I never paid the price. That means, okay, that's our opportunity gap. Right there is our opportunity. Did I say I was going to do something and not follow through? Boom, I didn't pay the price. That's our opportunity. So I want you to look at these very neutrally. Now, in order to do this, and in order to have 2026 your single best year of your life, you have to bet on yourself. You have to have the courage to bet on yourself. And there's no one better to bet on than you. I've told this story millions of times, literally. A few years ago, was in Portofino, Italy with my wife. She's getting ready. And I'm sitting out on the deck, and this thought came over me. And it was, what was the one thing that made the greatest difference in your life that you went from failing to succeeding at such a high level? And it hit me like lightning. It was so automatic. And it was, the day you bet on yourself is when your life changed. See, when I burned my bridges, when I had no safety net, because I didn't, I lost my job 3 weeks before my wedding, and I never gave in. That was the day everything changed. Even though I didn't see everything change in that moment, I could look back, kind of like what Steve Jobs said. You can always look back and see how you got here. Well, that was it. And I'm telling you, this is a must. You have to have the courage to bet on yourself. Now, what most people do is they want a better life, but they're so attached to money. You have to disconnect from the money. Stop chasing money. And when you disconnect from the money, you're going to start walking into the unknown. The unknown is what I did. I kept going into the unknown over and over and over again. You can't create a much better life, keep going into the known. So that is something that I'm encouraging you. I'm imploring on you, you have to eliminate. If you think you're going to keep creating a world-class life in the known, you're going to keep repeating the same year over and over again for 50 years and call it a life. Now, you are an amazing story. There's nothing that you're missing inside of you. Now, it might be covered up by a virus code, but you have everything you need inside of you. But you have to see yourself as an amazing story. You have to see yourself that if one person can do it, I can do it. Now, there's no greater investment than you. You're with you your whole life. So don't you think it'd be a heck of a good idea to start having a great attitude towards yourself? Trusting yourself, believing in yourself? Because I will tell you this, nobody believed in me until I made the first step. I had to believe in myself. Now, I want you in 2026 to commit to this for me. I want you to get ultra competitive with yourself. I want you to compete against who you were yesterday. That's where the game changes. That's where you play the infinite game. That's what Simon Sinek says. He says the only true competitor in an infinite game is yourself. Every day, have pride in your work. Have pride in your programming. Have pride in stretching out of your comfort zone. And really beat your potential every day. You keep getting better every day, you're going to activate greatness. I want you to stop chasing money, and I want you to start chasing your greatness, because that's when the game changes. Now, what is greatness? Greatness is defined as selfless exceptionalism. So these are the keys to activating your greatness. What do you want to achieve? In 2026, what is it that you really want to achieve? And then you've got to have a big reason to achieve it, or else when adversity hits, you're going to go back to your comfort zone. How badly do you want to reach your goal? Now, I want you to look at 2025. You could say, Arash, I really wanted this. but you didn't want it bad enough. You have to want your goal as badly as you want to breathe. And the results will tell you how badly you wanted it if your why was big enough. Every day, either our why is winning or our why not. And then number 3 is, do I have the mental toughness to handle adversity along the way? Because that is essential. Because life is a game of failure. Failure and success are the same. You're not going to win unless you learn how to lose. And most people think they're completely opposites. They're the same. You have to be willing to lose in order to win. So look at yourself and say, where did I put myself on the hook? Where was I out of my comfort zone? Is that what my goal demanded? And then you've got to look at your language, because change is always linguistic. Do my words and actions reflect the heart? Because as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. So do my words and actions reflect that heart that inspires peak performance in others? Am I a great example? Did I make people around me better? I want you to ask this question, because this is a must to activate your greatness. Did you see that I didn't say greatness is about getting? I didn't talk about results. Because results are a byproduct of what we do every day. And you are rewarded by what you do every day, not once in a while. Now, greatness is never measured by what a person accomplishes, but by the opposition they overcome to reach their goals. And I will tell you this. If you didn't reach your goals this year, this is the reason. You gave in to adversity. You gave in to comfort. See, you already know a lot of things. Knowing isn't where the magic is. It's in the doing. Doing is where you change your programming. Doing is where your identity shifts. Now, any picture firmly held in the mind in any form is bound to come forth. So then you got to say, is my mind disciplined? I want you to commit to yourself in 2026 that you're going to only hold the picture you want the most in your mind. You don't hold the how. Now you're getting in the way of the universe. Your job is not the how. Your job is to hold the picture on the screen of your mind without being distracted by any other picture. So if you want wealth, you can't keep thinking of debt. You see how they're opposite? So you're giving your mind a double binding message. And you're going to know when you're in control of your mind, because you have the ability to hold the picture of what you want the most on the screen of your mind, regardless of results. That's when you know I'm in control of my mind. Now, when we intelligently cooperate with the great universal law, we control the outcome. But when you've been winning this year, it's because you've been in harmony with the law. When you've been losing, it's because you've been in disharmony. And you want to understand and recalibrate your feelings. Your feelings will always tell you, if you're not feeling good, you're working out of harmony with the law. If you're feeling pressure, you're working out of harmony with the law. If you're feeling inspired, if you're acting on ideas within a millisecond, you're operating in harmony with your soul. So you want to start understanding this so you can recalibrate yourself if you do go to your old self. Now, this is something that you have to master, is you have to assume that anything you want, it's already done. You have to make a decision it's done before you start. And that's what most people don't do. They make decisions from their circumstances. Well, that's not a decision, that's programming. And that's somebody who's not in control of their mind. That's the game. Our mind is bringing us everything into our life. So I want you to take a look at your results from a neutral place. What are they telling me? See, this is a big story, but this is such an opportunity to leverage yourself. I started and stopped, or I had the best year of my life. They're telling you a story. Now, expectation is the biggest contributor to success. We don't get what we want, we get what we expect. Our expectation is what controls our behaviors. So what am I expecting? What are you expecting for 2026? I want you to have an enormous expectation. But I don't want your expectation to be based on what you did last year. See, when you make a decision, it changes the game. Why did my life change? Because I made different decisions. I stopped I stopped being comfortable. You know, last week I was doing a seminar called my Wealth Accelerator. It was 2 days. I worked closely with 20 people. And I was telling them a story because I was driving in and I got super nostalgic about like what I did to change my life. And I was telling my wife when we were driving in, I was in the unknown all the time, all the time. Where before I was studying the information and I only did what was comfortable. See, once you go to the unknown, you can never unsee the unknown because the results change so dramatically. So you got to decide, I'm going to go to the unknown. I'm not going to keep letting evidence decide my decisions. Now, I want you to commit. What is your number one main goal for the year? And I want you to write it down. I want you to write down, what is my number one non-negotiable? This will determine by next December that I said I had the best year of my life. Is it a health goal? Is it financial freedom? Is it scaling your business? Is it getting your time back? What is your number one goal? And you want to have that. That is the picture. That is the picture we hold on the screen of our mind. It is already done. That number one goal. Now, in order to achieve that number one goal, there's rules. There's rules of success. And if you follow the rules, you're going to be successful. And if you don't, you're not going to be successful. The first is you have to want it so badly, and you have to want to change so badly inside. Because all the outside is a reflection on the inside. So I could look at Michael and I could say, Michael, tell me your results. It'll tell me what's going on inside of Michael. I could look at Kyle and I'd say, Kyle, tell me your results. It'll tell me what's going on inside of Kyle. That's law. And then you've got to have workable principles. That's why it's not good enough just to study. It's to implement. Implementation are the principles. And then you've got to be honest. I've already told you, you can't change without truth and honesty. And then the last part is persistence. What does persistence mean? It means you've got to fall in love with repetition. That's persistence. That's persistence in action. Now, in order to achieve the number one goal, I want you to decide right now that you're going to be all in with your goal. That means when you make a decision that's uncomfortable, you don't give yourself a parachute out. I watch people do it. It hurts my heart because they just took themselves so far backwards. Why? Because they're connected to the money. They're not disconnected with the money. And you have to disconnect with the money. See, you've got to decide you're going to earn a lot of money, but you're not going to be attached to the money. When you transform yourself, that's when the money shows up. So I want you to set a goal. When you looked at your number one goal, was it worthy of you? Was it a big goal that is going to stretch you? I want you to set a goal so big that you can't achieve it until you grow into that person. And I will tell you this right now. If you already know how you're going to achieve your goal, it's not a good enough goal. It's not going to stretch you. It's not going to cause inspiration and growth. Our soul is always for expansion and growth. That's why when you hit one goal, you want to set a bigger goal the next time. So make sure your goal is something that you really want more than anything else. But here's the deal. When you make the goal impossible, you're going to stop working from your old self. You're going to stop measuring based on who you used to be. And you're going to be open to new ideas and paths to getting to your big goal. I'm going to tell you this right now. For 2026 to be the single best year of your life, which it is going to be, you're going to have to be open-minded. That means you've got to get the analytical mind and throw it in the gutter. You got to throw it in the garbage. Your analytical mind is keeping you comfortable. And understand this. Your paradigm does not want you to achieve your goals. And I want you to get that. So if you keep making decisions from your paradigm of what's comfortable, the paradigm is beating you all the time. I want you to get ultra competitive against your paradigm. I want every decision to be from your desire, not from your current set of results. Now, you know when you have a goal because that's all you think about. Your goal must dominate all your waking hours. So take a look. In 2025, what dominated my waking hours? That'll tell you a story. Was I looking at what's missing? Was I looking at the debt? What was I looking at? See, wherever you put attention on your thinking, your mind goes there. So your goal, I want you to make this a standard. My goal in 2026 is going to make every decision for me. My goal is going to determine my circle. My goal is going to determine my discipline. Now, the best way to set goals that you don't drift from is you only commit to the first quarter goals. But when you're planning your year, I want you to write out what your first quarter goal is, and you assume that it's done, and then you're going to write out your second quarter goal. And then you're going to go to your third quarter goal and your fourth quarter goal. But I want all your attention on the first quarter. By April 1st, this is what I'm going to achieve. By April 1st, these are the standards I built. By April 1st, these are my new disciplines. By April 1st, this is the income that is going to continually be flowing into my bank account. Don't get distracted. For 12 weeks, if you sprint, I promise you, you're going to start creating a paradigm that every quarter you create a quantum leap. Now, your true power lies in reviewing the questions I'm about to show you. But I want you to answer these questions from a neutral perspective. And I want you to be honest. That's what neutral is, when we're honest. Now, what I want you to do is take a screenshot of this. I want you to take a screenshot and you're going to answer these questions. But in order to really answer these questions properly, we've got to take extreme ownership for the good in 2025, the bad, the indifferent, and live with no regrets. Remember, we do everything from a place of neutrality. It's not about beating yourself up. We never beat ourselves up. So the first question is, start by looking at what was the biggest quantum leap you created in your life so far, your whole life. Now, the reason you ask this question, it tells you, if I've done it once, I could do it again. That's why you always write everything out, because it creates an image in your mind. Then you look at question 2. What was the biggest lessons you learned in 2025? What were the biggest lessons? We learned so much more from our losses than our wins. So don't be afraid to answer this. And then number 3, what was your standard in 2025? What did the results really tell us our standard was? Because remember, your standards are more important than your goals. Your standards are who you are. Your goals are who you're aspiring to be. And you don't answer any of these questions from a bias. It's just you're putting truth syrup on it. And then you look at, what was the biggest adversity you overcame this year? What was the biggest adversity you overcame? And then the last one is, what were your greatest gifts in 2025? What were the greatest gifts you received? Now, the 6th question is, what was the greatest thing you did out of your comfort zone? Where does evidence tell us that you were out of your comfort zone? And then what were the most amazing things you accomplished in 2025? This is where you acknowledge your wins, so you come from a place of wholeness again. What were your greatest excuses in 2025 that kept you stuck? That you gave away your power to the outside? And then what were you most proud of in 2025? What were you most proud of? And then what was the single greatest accomplishment of 2025? See, I want you to answer these. You don't go create anything until you answer these questions. We have to do a review of 2025. So we come from wholeness, we come from gratitude, and even whatever you didn't do, have gratitude for it. Have gratitude for it all. Now, we've got to build a kick-ass vision in 2026. See, most people build a vision and they never install it in their identity. So it's not good enough in January or the end of December to plan out your vision and not give it energy. William James said, without a vision, people perish. You have to keep going from your vision in everything you're doing. You have to do it every day, every day, every day. Now, when you're building your vision, understand this. Nothing is small about you, so stop thinking small. I want your vision to be big. I want it to cause you to be uncomfortable.